Oh, hi, Mark. So, first of all, you're gonna notice my hair looks a little, moist. And that's because I just got out of the shower. I popped on here to make this video, and I was like, I forgot about appearance. I had bedhead and shit. It wasn't pretty. I mean, I still do to an extent. You see that? Oh, there was a hair sticking up. Take my word for it. Anyway, a 2014 film directed by Christian Hansen. This is a slasher film. More specifically, this slasher film. I do own this film. And so, something that you guys should probably know about me and my history with this film. This was one of the first micro-budget shit film sort of things that I had ever seen. And so it actually does have a special place in my heart. Like, for whatever reason, I was very receptive to the micro-budget shit tier film genre. And I mean, that might have been the first. Sledge. I watched it a few years ago now, and I just really enjoy it. That being said, when it comes to the rating, we are gonna have, again, kind of that balanced rating, because technically it's not a good film, but I do enjoy it. There are things about this film that I don't enjoy, though. Don't think this is just like, I'm not a kid in the candy store when I watch this movie. I like a lot about it. I think it's a really funny film, but there are gripes I have with the movie. And the first gripe isn't so much with the movie, it's with the studio that makes the movie, Brain Damage Films. Their logo is the most obnoxious logo I've ever seen in my entire life. I swear to God. Every time. Actually, this time I didn't do it because I had my volume adjusted down for playing video games. Because, you know, if you play video games, you know that for whatever reason, video games are like 9 times louder than movies. And, so I had my volume turned down a little bit because I was playing video games last. But usually when I pop this film in to watch, I forget all about that stupid logo. And it screams. Like, this logo literally screams. It does this 3, 2, 1 thing, and it has this reel of like a girl screaming, and she's just screaming bloody murder. She's like, wait, no, stop. It's like, Jesus. I swear to God, if it were any louder, it would shatter the windows. That logo is the worst. I hate the Brain Damage Films logo. I'm not sorry. I mean, not the logo itself. I mean, the logo itself is just like that right there. Where my pinky is. It's just red lettering. But the intro logo thing, I can't stand it. It drives me up a wall. Anyway, so this film is about, I don't know how I want to frame this, because it's kind of about a film that's playing on television, and one of our characters is watching said film. So it's not really like, it's not really I mean, it is about the film. You're watching this movie for that movie, and honestly, the bits with her, I think there's probably 5 minutes total of, maybe a little more, of her just standing around and or sitting around in her pajamas or whatever she was wearing. I actually think she was wearing like jeans and a hoodie. Do you honestly, who kicks back in jeans and a hoodie? I want to know. But anyway, it's there's probably about 5 minutes of that, and it's definitely filler. Like, it's so obviously filler. But anyway, it's a story about these 20-somethings going out to a campground and getting slaughtered by a serial killer. It's really basic. However, the execution is a little less basic as far as the personality that the serial killer gives off. You kind of get the notion from this killer that he is obsessed with movies, maybe obsessed with video games. I don't really know. That's another thing about this film that I'm not a huge fan of, is they really did just try to, it seems like the killer, they were trying so desperately to give the killer motivation that they just failed. Like, he's like, because when I kill you, it's like a video game, because more of you come. It's like, but 3 seconds ago you were saying this was your movie. Why are you talking about this being your video game? You know, and then he has some video game related lines in the movie. Like at one point, before he smacks someone with his sledgehammer, he's like, Hadouken! You know, I don't know. But, yeah, basically it's just these 20-somethings going out in the middle of the woods to get slaughtered. And, you know, we start the film, well, we start the film technically in her apartment, but that's not where we're going to start this, for the sake of this, because I don't have a whole lot to say about that. We start the film on this road, where there are two, I'm not entirely sure what they are, like maybe some kind of mental health care workers, and they have this guy who they call Dickie with them, and he's very clearly challenged. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're easily offended, don't watch this movie. Don't do it. It's very mean, the way that they do this. It's very politically incorrect, the way that they do this. But it's hilarious. Like, I don't care. I'm not offended by things. That's the thing. And so me not being offended by things allows me to find hilarity in this guy's performance, in this Dickie guy, because he is portraying, like, I don't know if you guys know who Carlos Mencia is. I'm not going to make any remarks on his character as a human being, but he used to do kind of this this bit where he would go, you know, talking about how stupid people are. You know, like he'd say someone did something stupid and he'd go, like, that whole is basically this guy's whole performance. That is his whole performance, and it's crazy. Like, okay, so there is a part in this, it's so over the top. You know, in Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr. is like, never go full retard. This guy goes full retard, and it's hysterical. I'm sorry, actually I'm not. It is. It's just funny. It's funny. Like, the guy's like, he has this stuffed dinosaur and his clothes are way too small for him. He's walking around going, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, super dinosaur. I'm not sorry. It's funny. Alright? If you can't get a kick out of it, that's on you. And realistically, it just probably proves that you have better taste in humor than I do. Again, I'm very lowbrow. I'm very like, you don't have to make this smart to make it funny. And this film most certainly is not smart, but it is funny, and that's one of the very many funny parts in this film. You know, and they talk about why they call him Dickie. There's one lady who is referred to as Mean Lady for her like 3 seconds that she's on screen, but she's like, you know why they call him Dickie, don't you? The other lady's like, no. know, isn't that his name? She's like, no, that's not his real name. They call him Dickie because he plays with his dick the whole, he plays with his dick all the time. It's pretty politically incorrect, but it's great. It's great. Um, and then there's this lady that they refer to as Nice Lady. You know, of course, there's Mean Lady and there's Nice Lady, and the Nice Lady's like, be nice to him, you know, you gotta treat this with compassion. And it's funny because her last line is, be nice to him. And then she gets a sledgehammer to the face, and thus starts the opening credits. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty glorious. I enjoy the transition. Yeah, and then Adam Lynch, our killer, is like, okay, we're gonna play a game, Dickie. Put your hands in her blood, run to the cops, and don't tell them what happened. It's like, okay. Alright. Yeah. Another thing, though, about the film outside of the film is, I gotta admit, it seems really cozy. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because she's sitting on her couch eating popcorn, watching horror films. Like, that's maximum fun right there. And I don't know, whenever I see that in a movie, I'm like, oh, that looks like a good time. I'm kind of jealous. And then after, I think because it kind of cuts to her, like, after the kind of opening credits. Actually, I don't even know if it makes it all the way through the opening credits. And it cuts to her in her house, and every time it cuts to her in her house, we get a little bit of exposition, or not really exposition, but rather explanation for, like, why she's, and I guess that is exposition. Don't mind me, I'm an idiot. But it kind of gives us backstory on her. Backstory we don't need, but it does give us backstory, you know. She broke up with her boyfriend, and she's doing this, and it was something she used to do with her boyfriend, and just all this shit that you don't really care about. You don't. It's kind of funny at scenes because she's making it so obviously clear, like, that she's trying to make her boyfriend jealous. So there you do get some funny aspects out of that, like, you know, she's like, oh no, don't tell him that I'm inside watching movies. And then her ex-boyfriend calls later, and he's like, I heard you were inside watching movies. And she's like, I don't know why she told you that. I'm going out. And he's like, oh really? Yeah, to what bar? And she's like, to a bar you've never heard of before? And, you know, I'm dressing really slutty, and you know, I have a date, and you know, no, it's a bar you've never heard of. Likely story. What? So, you know, you do get a little entertainment out of the whole deal because of her obviously, like, it's so obvious that it becomes comedic. Like, no one in real life would say this shit because it's so stupid. Because the way she's saying this, he's obviously gonna think you're on the couch watching movies. At one point, she's eating popcorn. Why would you eat popcorn while you're on the phone with the person that you don't want to think that you don't want them to think that you are sitting on your couch watching movies? Why would you eat popcorn while you're on the phone with them? Just refrain for 3 seconds from eating popcorn just while you're on the phone with this person. But she eats popcorn, and he's like, what's up, popcorn? And she's like, no, it's popcorn. It's my makeup clothing. Yeah, it's my eyeliner clothing because it's going out to a bar. you've never heard of, and I'm gonna dress really slutty. It's, it's like, no, stop. You're awful at this. But it's kind of funny. But anyway, it transitions to that. I just got off into a really unnecessary rant, but it transitions into that, and then we get the kind of post intro credit beginning scene. Like, you know, we're introduced to these characters in this scene, and I have to say, this scene is shot like absolute pterodactyl feces. I swear to God. It's awful. Like, every shot is like a close-up of the side of their face. It's like the camera is right here. Or like, sometimes at an angle, so like right here. And you're just thinking to yourself, who thought this was a good idea? I guess if you have limited resources, I kind of understand, but man, they could have done something else, man. They could have like stuck that, I don't know, get like a suction cup or something and stick the camera to the, if it's small enough, and stick it to like the windshield or something. Angle it just right. I don't know, man. But having someone in the back seat holding a camera up to somebody's face isn't the best way to shoot this scene. And it's pretty awful. You know, they do make some funny lines in here. I mean, it's not all bad. You know, the characters are actually really funny. Like, they're people, well, at least a couple of them. They're people that I feel like, yeah, that looks like a group of friends. Yeah, that looks like what it would look like if all of my friends got together and hang out. We'd just be sitting there talking shit the whole time, making stupid jokes, telling passerbys that each other are child molesters. That's something they do in this movie. The guy's like asking for directions, and he's like, "Don't listen to him. He's a child molester." They just drive away. Dick move, but pretty funny. Dick move, but pretty funny. And I do kind of understand that he's trying to be a jerk to this guy, but so anyway, as they're driving to this place, a question gets asked. And it's a question that I don't fully understand. And that is, did you talk to the guy we're renting this place from? What? Excuse me? You guys have to understand, this film is not, it's not based in a cabin in the woods. Alright, like a Friday the 13th or a cabin in the woods. But it's not based in a cabin in the woods where it's like, oh yeah, obviously this is a rental cabin. No. This film is based on a campground with 2 tents. Actually, 3 tents. Yeah, there are 3 tents. 3 tents and a fire pit. You're renting that from somebody? Why? Why would you rent that from somebody? Do you have any idea the amount of camping spots you could find if you just drove up a mountain road? You don't have to be frickin' Christopher Columbus and sail the ocean blue to find a camping spot, alright? You don't, it's not difficult. You just drive on state land until you find a place with a clearing, and then you set up a tent there. Unless, I guess, if they don't have any tents. But does it not seem more efficient? Especially if camping is something that you do on a regular basis. I'm not saying that they I'm not saying that they camp on a regular basis. I am saying that, theoretically, if they camp on a regular basis, it would be far more efficient to buy a tent and find some state land than it would be to rent 2 tents and a fireplace out in the middle of nowhere from somebody. who rents their camping spot? I don't know. I understand there are camping grounds and stuff, but this wasn't a camping ground. This was literally a clearing in the woods. So, like, they must have been on somebody's property. Like, that must have been what that was. Of course, I'm probably looking too deep into this, and this is probably just, bullshit that doesn't actually have an explanation. But, I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me that they would rent this from somebody. And of course, it's just one line of dialogue. I'm looking way too much into it, but for some reason that bugged me a little. I'm like, you're renting this? How much are you paying? If it's anything over $1.25, I'm going to be very disappointed in all of you. So, anyway, they get there and they start, unpacking their stuff, and they're taking it all to, sorry, my dog was chewing on a Coke can that I drank this morning. I don't understand things. I don't get it. What's so alluring about it? I don't know. Shiny, I suppose. Anyway, they're unpacking their stuff. And as they're unpacking their stuff, Adam Lynch, our killer, is stalking them from, like, the bushes. And, he has his little commentary to himself, kinda, and one of the things he says, he goes, "The girls have nice asses. I'll let them live tonight." And all I could think to myself when he goes, "The girls have nice asses," I'm like, do they? I've seen this film multiple times. Lest you think that I just did not catch a glimpse of the glory of their ass. I just don't see it. I've seen this film multiple times. They don't have that great of asses. Weirdly enough, there's a chick that's kind of thick in this movie. In the movie, her name's Sarah. She's like no ass at all. It's like a drop off. And he's like, "The girls have nice asses," and I'm like, really? And then the other woman, I don't know. I mean, it's okay. It's nothing to write home about, really. Like, I don't see a point of making a side note of that unless you were just trying to make a joke of it. Because realistically, it's nothing to write home about. It's nothing to make a note of. At no point in these notes have I made the women have nice asses. That's nowhere on this notepad. Other than in quotations to talk about how Adam Lynch says that they have nice behinds. Just something that I noticed, and I formally reject that theory. It's not true. And then my next note here that I have written down is Sarah's boyfriend in the film, Nash, is a vagina. Like, honestly, I understand the douchebag character, the guy in the blue shirt, the funny, he refers to himself as a funny asshole. Yeah, okay, he kind of is. But the thing is, I understand that he's being less than nice to you, but you're also being a massive pansy. Like, I don't know, he's taking everything this guy's saying to heart, like this guy's trying to murder him or something. Obviously, this guy makes a lot of jokes. The guy in the blue shirt, he makes a lot of jokes. That's just about every line in the film that he has is a joke. And that's fine. I actually think that guy's really funny. He has a very... I actually identify with that guy a lot. I do. When I get into larger groups of my friends, I can turn into that, where I'm just making joke after joke after joke, and I get a little annoying. But, you know, I don't know, Nash's pansiness outweighs that guy's douchebaggery. He does say out of line shit, the guy in the blue shirt. Alex, that was his name. Alex. Alex does say out of line stuff. You know, like at one point he literally says, "I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend in public." I was like, that shouldn't be something that comes out of your mouth. Even if you're a really spiteful person and you dislike someone, I don't know. To me, that's taking it a little too far, a little past joking point. But anyway, moving on from Nash and Alex. At points in this film, there is this strange audio effect where it seems to be like an echo. I don't know what that is. I don't know what causes that, because I'm not savvy in the film industry. I just like watching them. It would kind of make sense if they were like recording in a room. They were recording the dialogue in a room, which wouldn't be too far-fetched considering we don't really get all these close-ups on these people's faces where their lips have to be matching perfectly. There are extended scenes with that where you're like, okay, obviously this wasn't recorded in a room because their lips match up too well. But there are scenes where it's just, there's this weird echo effect. And I don't know, I wonder what causes that. And then, speaking of weird effects, every night scene in this film looks like they had some sort of weird, like a deer blind or something, put over their heads in the middle of the night with a giant light, and it's just shining down, because they're just like, most of it's black, and then there are these weird random little holes with this really bright light shining down. I'm just sitting there like, my God, that looks terrible. But again, micro budget film, maybe that's as creative as they could get. I don't know. I really don't have any suggestions to make that look better or to make that less awful. Like, I wouldn't know how to light a scene at night. That being said, it did look bad. And if they had the means, they 100% should have tried to light it better. So this is something that I notice every single time I watch this movie. And before last, because last time was last night when I did watch this movie. Before that time, time before last, sorry. Time before last that I watched this movie was the first time that I ever actually noticed that I do this. But I was watching it with my buddy. I've watched it with that buddy, I think, twice, maybe 3 times. Then I watched it with another buddy once. And when Sarah starts talking, I start shouting, because Sarah is insufferable. She is an incredibly manipulative, terrible person. Like, she's just a bad person. There's no shades of gray to this. She is one of the most manipulative people in film history, I swear to God. Like, there's one point in this film where they're talking, and they're like, oh yeah, Alex is out in the woods. He's apologizing to Nash. She's like, what? What? Why would you tell him to do that? They're like, you don't want them to get along? She's like, I mean, yeah, great, they can fix their friendship, but I'm probably gonna break up with Nash anyway. When she was smashing Nash the night before. They was getting their beast with 2 backs on. Alright? They were going at it the night before. and she's been defending Nash this whole time. And then the truth comes out when Nash is gone, and she's sitting in this the campsite with just her and her two other friends, while Alex and Nash go out to the woods to apologize to one another. Alex takes Nash out there and apologizes to him like a man, and he tries to find common ground with him. And here she is, going, I'm probably going to break up with Nash anyway. And they're like, well, you need to tell him. She's like, yeah, like, I don't know, Nash is a bitch. And, like, Alex is who I always saw myself with. And this whole movie so far, she's done nothing but berate Alex. She's done nothing but make Alex out to be the bad guy. I'm not saying that Alex isn't a bit of a douche. He is. He says some out-of-line stuff. But he's not this manipulative, evil little gremlin who... This makes me mad, and it makes me mad every single time I watch this movie. Her character makes me mad because she is so manipulative. She just... I don't know how else to describe it. She's acting one way to be, and she's two-faced. She's acting one way to people's face, and then as soon as they leave, she's like, yeah, I mean, Alex is who I always saw myself with, you know? Like, now she's cute and everything, but, like, I don't love him. In love is a strong word. You know, like, Alex is the greatest, you know? Like, I'm in love with Alex. I like Nash. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, you don't love Alex, because if you did love Alex, this Bolshevik wouldn't be coming out of your mouth. There's all of this attacking Alex all throughout the film. It drives me utterly insane. I can't with this chick, dude. I don't think she knows what love means. I don't think she knows what like means, because she's sitting here talking behind Nash's back like, yeah, he's a bitch. No one likes Nash anyway. Am I right, guys? He's only here because he has the car keys. Are you kidding? Just, and both of my friends will attest to you that every time we watch this film, and again, like I said, I hadn't noticed that I do this, or at least I hadn't remembered that I did this. But both of the times, both or all three of the times that I watched it with Dakota, the guy that's been on my channel a couple of times, he will tell you that I do the same thing every time. And like I said, I didn't even, it doesn't even click with me that I have done this before, but I'm, up until now anyway, to where now I watch it and I'm like, oh, okay, I've already bitched about all of this. But like, he's like, you do this every time we watch this movie. And I'm like, really? Yep. You go off every single time we watch this film. And I'm like, good to know. To be fair, it is because she's an awful human. Anyway. Oh, God. I just have one line written down. It's cook up my burning army. Yep. Yep, cook up my burning army. Alex has some great lines in this movie. He calls someone a cockbag at one point, which is just hysterical. And then he like does some things in some napkins, and they burn them in the campfire. And he's like, yeah, cook up my burning army. The guy's just funny. He is a jerk, but he's a funny guy, and honestly, I feel like I could get along with him. As long as he's not being, his jerkiest. And then also, during the apology scene, something funny I noticed is they had these ducks floating in the background. Pretty sure those were decoy ducks. Like wooden ducks. Because they were so stiff, and they were like shifting around. 100% looked like decoy ducks. Anyway, so they're at the pond, and Alex is apologizing to Nash. like a man, damn it. Even though it doesn't matter to Sarah, because Sarah's going to break up with him anyway. But anyway, and Alex is like, all right, I'm gonna head back to camp. Can I head back to camp? And Nash is like, all right, I gotta pee. And so Nash stops to pee, and he hears someone calling his name. It's like, Nash, Nash. He's like, yeah, I thought you headed back to camp, Alex. What? That doesn't even remotely sound like Alex. It sounds like... I didn't even know what it sounds like. But it doesn't sound like Alex. The thing is... Okay, so it was obviously the killer trying to do an imitation of Alex. But he wasn't trying. He didn't do an imitation. He just said Nash, and Nash assumed it was Alex. I don't know about you, but if I hear my name in the woods... and I don't recognize the voice, that is a red flag. And I'm probably going to run. Unless I have a gun on me. No. I'd probably still run, actually. Yeah. Because it's just a voice in the woods. You don't know what that is. That could be a ghost. You don't know. And what's even more unsettling, why does it know your name? Why? I don't know. Nash is an idiot. He's like, Alex? Where are you, Alex? Alex? Hey, man, quit messing around. This is not funny. Then, of course, he gets dead. He gets stabbed in the stomach. And gutted. It was actually pretty funny, though. When Alex gets back to the campsite after Adam Lynch has killed Nash, Alex gets back to the campsite, and they're like, "Where's Nash?" Of course, this is Sarah saying this, which is why I did it. I did it with attitude. She's like, "Where's Nash? What did you do to him?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Where's Nash?" And he's like, "Oh, I stabbed him in the stomach, gutted him, left him for dead." Which is exactly what happened. But, of course, Alex didn't do that. It was Adam Lynch. I also have written down, Sarah has the emotional maturity of a 7th grader. I think I've harped on Sarah enough, but she really does. I mean, just the way she talks. Like, I've heard that tone of voice, but I only heard it when I was in, like, junior high school. Like, that, the way she says things is so... I don't know, man. She sounds like an overgrown child whenever she speaks. I can't take her seriously. I mean, I can take her seriously in one way, that she's an awful, manipulative human being. But then in another way, I can't take you seriously when you speak because you sound like a kid. Like, I could not have a personal relationship with you. Even if it's not like a relationship. I mean, I couldn't do that either. But I couldn't have like a friendship with this person. I wouldn't even want to be co-workers with this person. I just... That's all I have to say about that. Also, something I felt worth mentioning is that if you don't like I mentioned earlier, this film is micro budget. So it was basically shot with a potato with a camera lens on it. Potato with lens. Terrible film quality. It's not as bad as it could be. Honestly, like, this film could be worse, but yeah, like, the people who are in, the front of the frame, you can see them pretty clearly, but like, the woods are kind of blurry, and it's not because it's focused on the person, right? It's not because the camera is focused on that person, because, like, you see in films all the time where the camera is on a person, it's not fully focused, but you know, there's something in the background, and you can see that fairly clearly. Like, it's not blurry. But in this film, it is blurry, and it's just, I don't know. It's not really annoying to me because, again, I watch a lot of bad movies. And so watching this particular bad movie with the same problem that every bad movie has, or rather every low budget movie, I shouldn't say bad, but every like micro budget film has this problem because they can't afford good camera equipment. That's fine. I mean, whatever, but just, I guess I'm including that in there as a warning because it is like that. And then there's this scene where, so finally, Alex has convinced everybody that, you know, he didn't do anything to Nash, but he says Nash is still out there. And Sarah goes out to look for Nash. And she finds basically just a pile of gore on the ground. And she comes back, she's like, "What did you do to him?" He's like, "Nothing." And of course, he convinces everybody that he didn't do anything. And they go out looking for Nash, all of them together. And they kind of split up into groups of two. Alex and Sarah, and the other dude and his girlfriend. I really don't know their names. For whatever reason, I don't even know if their names were said. They had to have been said, right? They're not just nameless. But, I don't know. I can never remember their names for the life of me. Probably because they're not the main characters. They're not part of this little love triangle that's going on here, so. But anyway, they go off in search of Nash. And the not main girl and the not main guy are together, and she's like, "If there really is something out there, you'd protect me, right?" And he's like, "No, Operation Human Shield, bitch." And she's like, "That is not nice, you would not." and so they're walking along, and she's like, "What's your favorite horror movie?" I was like, "Probably Beetlejuice." Beetlejuice. And she goes, "I know what happens when you say it 3 times. Do not say it 3 times." He goes, "Beetlejuice." And Adam Lynch pops up from behind like this just little like Kelly hump sort of thing. And he pops up from behind it and he's like, "Hey, motherfuckers." After he says Beetlejuice 3 times. And he goes through with it. Operation Human Shield. He literally pushes her down and starts running, and she gets impaled on a stick. And it's kind of funny because I think it's supposed to be her heart. It looks like her heart that's poking out on this stick, and she's sitting there on the ground gasping for breath. If this stick took your heart out of your body and it's now on the end of a stick, you're not gonna be alive. Sorry to break it to you, but it's not gonna happen. But then it's pretty funny. Adam Lynch is like walking over. And he looks down and he's like, "You took my kill, you son of a bitch." Which, you know, just funny because it's, basically if you play Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo or literally any first-person shooter or even third-person shooter, you know that feeling. You know that feeling. With a little less real-life murder, but you know that feeling. So... Anyway, this scene more or less ends. I think they both end up getting murdered. I don't even remember what happens. Oh, yeah. The guy with the faux hawk falls down, and Adam Lynch smashes his head. And then it kind of cuts to... it cuts to the scene outside of the movie, and... it's this, you know, it's the same girl sitting on her couch, and then a advertisement for next week movie on, what was it, Ashley's American Horror. Her next week's advertisement for Ashley's American Horror pops up, and it was something called, what was it called? The Amish Paradise. Oh my god. The ad for this was amazing. Like, it was like, there's something waiting in the Amish country. And like, then it like, it cuts to, it's like all these shots, all these foreboding shots of like this snowy countryside. These old shacks, gloomy, glum weather, snow everywhere. And then he opens, well, I think it's suggested that it's a cameraman of some kind that opens this door, and it's like, what's going on here, guys? And they're all sitting around in their underwear playing video games. They're like, get that motherfucker! And they all chase after him, and they're like gonna kill him. It's a bunch of Amish people. I love that idea for a movie. Why was this never made? Please, Brain Damage Films, put that movie out. Make that movie. I will pay an arm and a leg for that. I love that idea. That the Amish are faking this whole time. And outsiders come in and they're sitting there playing video games. They're like, get him! He's gonna tell everybody! So yeah, that was pretty great. And it cuts back into the movie, and Alex and Sarah are on their way to this cabin that they found. They say they hear a generator. I don't hear any generator. You'd 100% be able to hear a generator if there was a generator there. Okay? But I hear no generator. But anyway, they're headed towards this cabin. They see the generator on. And he goes, but what if there's someone here and he's like crazy or something? And she's like, we're not in a movie. And she said this like 900 times by now, so it's just obnoxious. On top of the fact that it's Sarah saying these things, so it's going to be obnoxious by default. She's like, we're not in a movie. Will you stop? We're not in a movie. And he's like expressing legitimate concern. She's like, we're not in a movie. It's like, you do realize that people who kill people exist, right? That's not just a movie thing. But anyway, if I could somehow stop expressing annoyance with her character. He's like, yeah, but what if? And she's like, don't worry, I won't let anyone go all dead silence on you. Really? That's the reference that you chose? That right there. They might have written that thinking that it made sense, but it didn't really. You know, like, because no, it just doesn't really make sense, because he's worried about a killer, and the ghost from Dead Silence wasn't like a serial killer, like it was a ghost. And so what it came across as is Sarah just trying to make a reference because she knows that Alex is into horror movies and failing miserably, and as a result everyone in the room cringes, except Alex does not, because Alex is into Sarah for some unexplainable reason. And so instead he just takes the reference further, and he's like, I'm gonna end up with someone's hand up my ass working me like a puppet. And like, I feel like Sarah didn't I feel like she didn't catch that. She's like, what are you talking about? Why a puppet? My god, that looks atrocious. My hair's drying, and it's drying in a very unfashionable way. Anyway, she's like, why a puppet? She doesn't really say that. Just to let you guys know, she doesn't really say that. If she didn't get the reference, then she doesn't catch on to it. But like, what it felt like is when a child like tries to reference something that they know nothing about, but they're just trying to reference it to be cool. And then they just kind of go along with it. I don't know. It bugged me. It was just a little bit of cringe. As far as the kills go in this movie as well, they're all pretty subpar. if I'm being entirely honest. I mean, there's a little bit of gore here and there. There's no real on-screen kills. The one that I probably like the most, just because it's the most interesting in theory, is he has 2 sledgehammers, and this couple are making out in a couple of sleeping bags, and he just drops the sledgehammers to where they're like going in like that, and they smack their heads together. I thought that was an interesting premise, kind of crappy execution. Realistically, all that happens is like the impact, and then they cough up blood onto each, well, they spit up blood onto each other. And then after he Adam Lynch, that is, after Adam Lynch starts chasing them, because of course they go to Adam Lynch's cabin, and you know, it's pretty obvious now he's got to chase him because the woman screamed. I forgot why Sarah screamed. I don't remember. And so now Adam Lynch knows they're there, and so now he's chasing them, and for whatever reason, about 60 seconds after Adam Lynch starts chasing them, literally it couldn't have been more than a minute. 1 minute. One singular minute. Alex decides to stop, and he's like, "Stop it! I'm not running anymore. We gotta fight." It's like, that's sudden, dude. You've been running for like 60 seconds. I don't get what they were going. Were they trying to go for like that empowered moment where it's like, yeah, we're gonna stand up to the bad guy. We're gonna take back, you know, we're gonna do this for the honor of our friends, and we're gonna teach him a lesson. Dude, it's been like 60 seconds, and technically you don't even know if he's killed your friends or not. Like, you know some stuff's fishy with him, and you know that he's coming after you. You don't know why he's coming after you. You know nothing about this. You know nothing about this whole situation. Yet you're like, I'm done running. Let's fight. It's like, dude, stop. You've been running for 60 seconds. It is not that intense. Okay. Sorry guys, I was getting dangerously close to the time limit on my phone, so I had to stop the video and start another. And so anyway, he's chasing after him, and you know, he gets out, and Alex tries to fight him, and he's kind of, you know, he's getting a few good little hits in, and then he stabs Sarah. Thank God. But he stabs Sarah. He's like, "What have you done? You're crazy. You're crazy." Like, he didn't know he was crazy before. This gets me too. Like, this does actually annoy me mildly, because he's like, "Oh, you're crazy. Oh my God, I can't believe you would stab Sarah like that. Oh, you're crazy." And he starts running. And I'm sitting here like, he was coming after you, wearing a human face, wielding a sledge. Yeah, he's crazy. No, duh. And you yourself were like fighting him because you knew he was crazy. What other reason is there? Unless you suspect that this individual is crazy. Him stabbing your girlfriend doesn't change any of this, unless maybe you thought that he didn't actually kill your friends, in which case you wouldn't actually be retaliating against him. You'd probably just be running because you wouldn't have any ill will toward this person other than the fact that he's chasing you. But all of that aside, he starts going, "Oh no, you're crazy. I can't believe you stabbed Sarah." And Adam Lynch goes, "What are you whining about? I just saved you from a lifetime of herpes," which is probably true. 100% Sarah would have cheated. 100%. Somewhere along the lines, there would have been some serious affairs going on. Even if they did get married, doesn't matter. He probably did just save him from a lifetime of that stuff. I'm not even mad at that line. Like, I'm like, yeah, yep, 100%. Yeah, no, you're right. I honestly think Alex should be grateful. I really don't like Sarah. Oh no, it wasn't Alex that called somebody a cockbag. No, Oh, that's what it was. It was Adam Lynch. Because he was like, Alex goes, "You're mad!" And Adam Lynch is like, "We all go a little mad sometimes, cockbag." Of course, a play on the "we all go a little mad sometimes" from Psycho, but he adds in cockbag because, the height of maturity here. And anyway, ends up killing Alex, and then he heads on back to his cabin. And it turns out he's been living with Dickie this whole time. He just took him in. Why? Nobody knows. I don't know. I'll bet you don't know. Maybe so we could frame him again? I don't know. But Dickie's sitting there playing with rocks, and he's like, "Mommy rock it, Daddy rock, smash and they make pebbles." And he's like smashing two rocks together, which is actually pretty funny. They smash and they make pebbles, but I'm easily amused. All right, you gotta understand. Mentally, I'm a toddler as far as my sense of humor goes. But and then he has another rock like over in the corner. He's like, "Rocky Balboa, no, not on the carpet." This is all ridiculous. But yeah, so it turns out he's been living with Dickie this whole time in this little shack in the woods, and the cops are there. Like, you hear police sirens, which, who called the cops? Who was it? That's what I don't get. Unless, crazy fan theory right now. Okay, so Dickie escapes prison, right? Dickie was in prison, but he escapes prison. Maybe with the help of Adam Lynch, who knows? And so they're looking for Dickie, 100%. They might even be looking for Adam Lynch. And if Dickie is there, maybe Dickie just got there. Maybe he hasn't been living there the whole time. Maybe Dickie just got there, and he's like, "What are you doing in my house?" But he followed Adam Lynch home. Or maybe, again, Adam Lynch took him to his house after breaking him out of prison, which he did somewhere in between the nights, right? Or out of the mental institution, wherever they would have put him, right? For walking out of the woods with all this on his hands. Or maybe even protective custody. Or not protective, but, he'd be in custody. If nothing else. However, I think it was said that this was done years ago. So I think he'd have ended up somewhere by now. But maybe he broke him out, and they made their way back to Adam Lynch's shack. And people like that jogger on the street saw them coming back. And so they were like, "Hey, man, I just saw those two crazy people that busted out of the whoozamawatsits. They're headed down this way." And they're like, "Well, that way ends abruptly. There is a cabin that ends down there. We thought it was abandoned. Let's check out that cabin." They go to the cabin. Just so happens they're at the cabin. No one called the police other than that girl reporting that the escaped lunatic was indeed escaped. Man, I just fixed the plot hole. Not really. That still makes no sense. But I can dream, can't I? And so he goes, "All right, I want to play another game, Dickie. Take this knife, put this blood on your hands. Now go out there and don't tell him what happened." He's like, "Yeah, okay. This sounds, you know what? This sounds like a neat game. Can we get pizza afterwards? I want mushrooms on my pizza." There's literally a line. It's like, "Okay, but can we get pizza?" Like, Adam Lynch is like, "Yeah, we're getting pizza." But anyway, I forgot how the movie ends exactly. As far as that part of the movie. Yeah, I don't remember. Like, the movie within the movie. I don't remember how that ends, but the film ends with this girl, the girl that's trying to avoid her ex-boyfriend or whatever. Going into the kitchen, I think she's going to pour herself some wine. I think that's what she was doing. And she hears like breathing, and she turns and she goes, ah, and she gets like smacked with a sledgehammer, and then Sledge pops up on screen. So that's all I really have to say about this one. So I'm gonna offer kind of my final thoughts. I think Sledge is a movie that if you like bad films, if you like films that are kind of reminiscent to Troll 2, not quite as amazingly, deliciously bad as Troll 2, but in that same vein, as far as it's so bad it's good, I think you'll like it. I do. I could see how you could classify this film as boring. Even myself, at a couple of times, I'm like, all right, I don't care near as much as this love triangle as this, or about this love triangle as this movie needs me to, in order to be invested right now, because realistically, a lot of that is filler. A lot of this movie is filler. You know, they wrote a bunch of jokes to make it more amusing and had Alex deliver the jokes, because, you know, he was the funny guy, and so he does deliver a majority of the jokes, and, you know, it's, you know, a lot of it's talking. A lot of this movie is talking. Talking and stalking. But, I find it amusing. I do. It's kind of fun because you have the characters you kind of want to root for, because they're sort of funny. Like, actually, I find Alex hysterical. I don't know, but I think he's really funny. I think the other characters, other than Sarah and Nash, are likable enough. So realistically, this movie is, I think it's fun. I do. Again, I'm going to remind you, I have really low standards for movies. However, I have showed it to both of my friends, well, I should say both of the friends that I watch movies with. But, I showed it to both of my friends that I watch movies with, and neither of them hated it. Matter of fact, Dakota likes this movie quite a bit. I remember my other one saying it was okay, but that's a plus for him, honestly, because my other buddy is pretty harsh on films. At least I think he is. He is by my standards, again, because I have really low standards for films. But, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. You know, it does drag at a few points, and if you're one of those people who really can't stand filler, this movie will drive you insane, because a lot of it is filler. The kills aren't great, so you can't really watch this movie for kills, but altogether, it's a pretty enjoyable time. It's a movie that's kind of found its way into fairly regular rotation for me. So, altogether, I am going to give Sledge a 5.5 out of 10. Now, I know a lot of you are like, well, that's pretty low for a film that you seem to enjoy quite a bit. And it actually is. 5.5 is very low. But I only give it a 5.5 because I know this movie is not, it's not good on any sort of technical level. But that's my thoughts on it. Have you guys seen it? What did you think about it?